The Zytherian war-crest dominions claw hung over the burning skyline of Vardis 9, a once thriving colony reduced to smoldering iron and drifting ash. Below, oceans boiled, continents split, and entire city hives collapsed under the Empire's orbital bombardment. It had taken less than 9 hours to end a civilization that stood for 5,000 years. High Marshal Veiltor, scaled, towering, and draped in Imperial war silks, watched from the Grand Bridge. His officers, dozens of them, stood in disciplined silence, awaiting commands they already knew. This was routine. This was tradition. This was conquest. Another plea for surrender, Marshal, one officer reported. Their planetary senate begs for mercy. Veiltor exhaled, annoyed by the predictability of the weak. Silence them, he replied. Mercy dilutes memory. Fear preserves it. The order was executed instantly. No hesitation. No debate. Zytherians were taught from hatchling age. Peace is a lie. Obedience is survival. Supremacy is destiny. Mercy was an evolutionary mistake, one their empire had surgically removed generations ago. As the last distress signal from Vardis 9 died, Veiltor addressed his bridge. This is the fate of all who defy Zytherian law. Let it be archived as warning. His officers struck their chests in salute, sharp, unified, unquestioning. Yet beneath his confidence, Veiltor carried hunger. Not for victory, victory was guaranteed, but for challenge. For 2 centuries, no species had offered the Zytherian Empire real resistance. Worlds surrendered by rumor alone. Armadas folded without firing. Entire systems paid tribute simply to avoid becoming Vardis 9. The Empire no longer fought wars. It performed executions. And Veiltor was bored. Inciting incident targeting Earth. Inside the inner chamber of the Zytherian High War Council, holographic stars formed a galactic map. Conquered systems glowed in crimson. Tributary states flickered in gold. A few insignificant, underdeveloped sectors remained uncolored, barely worth noticing. One of them was Sol, a blue-green world labeled only as Primitive Class B Earth. Population, numerous, disorganized. Threat level, negligible. A junior noble scoffed. Their signals suggest internal chaos. Petty nation-states. Tribal behavior. They argue more with each other than any foe. They would fall in days. Another laughed. Days? Hours. We could conquer them before their morning sun rises. The council chamber filled with amused arrogance. But Veiltor leaned forward, intrigued, not by Earth's threat, but by its symbolism. Humans were young, loud, unpredictable. They spread through digital space with relentless energy, broadcasting music, wars, poetry, and threats into the void like children taunting shadows. Commander, a council elder asked Veiltor, why does this spec interest you? Because, Veiltor answered, the galaxy watches. Our might has become legend, yes, but legends must be refreshed. A primitive world, publicly conquered, will remind all species that resistance is hopeless. Let Earth be the example that scars memory for 1,000 years. The council approved the campaign without hesitation. Why would they hesitate? It was a primitive planet. It would be easy. It would be fast. It would be glorious. And so the Zytherian War Armada set course for Sol, laughing, boasting, drinking to a victory that had not yet happened. Their arrogance was total. Their mistake was fatal. First shift, human POV. Admiral Ryan Holt, Earth. While the Zytherians advanced, humanity was not ignorant of the universe. Nor were they as divided as outsiders believed. Deep beneath the Pacific, inside the classified suboceanic defense citadel known as Idola 9, Admiral Ryan Holt stood before a silent fleet, dark, angular vessels suspended in magnetic scaffolding, uncrewed, unlit, dormant like predatory statues. No names. No crews. No insignias. Only serial numbers. The ghost fleet. Holt's reflection stared back at him in the glass. Haunted eyes, sharp jaw, streaks of gray in his beard. A man who had seen too many human wars. He hated what this fleet represented. He hated that humanity had needed to build it. But he hated one thing more, being prey. An aide approached, tablet in hand. Sir, Deep Space Early Warning Array confirms a fleet. Not ours. Holt didn't flinch. How many? Preliminary count, hundreds of war signatures. Maybe thousands. A long silence. Then Holt nodded, exhaling through his nose, as if accepting something inevitable. So it begins. Unlike the Zytherians, humans did not celebrate war. Earth had been bloodied by its own history, world wars, genocides, arms races, catastrophes. But that suffering forged something the Zytherians had never faced. A species that learned from pain. The Ghost Fleet was humanity's vow: never again. Never again helpless. Never again enslaved. Never again silent. Rising tension, first contact split POV. When Zytherian vessels breached the edge of the solar system, they expected panic, chaos, and desperation. Instead, they received a transmission. Calm, clear, chillingly composed. A human voice: Admiral Holt. Unidentified fleet. This is Earth defense. You are entering protected territory. Reverse course now. On the Zytherian bridge, laughter erupted. They warn us, officer sneered. They should beg. Veiltor smirked. Open channel. I will answer. His voice, deep and resonant, thundered back across light years. Earth. I am High Marshal Veiltor of the Zytherian Empire. You will kneel, or you will burn. This is not negotiation. Holt listened without blinking. His reply was quiet, controlled, almost gentle. Then you've made your choice. The transmission cut, and for the first time, Zytherian officers stopped laughing. Something in the human's tone was wrong. Not fear, not rage, preparation. Momentum shift, the revelation begins. As Zytherian scouts advanced past Neptune, something unexpected happened. Their forward ships vanished. No explosion, no signal, no debris. Just gone. Confusion spread. Marshal, our vanguard is missing. Sensors malfunction. Veiltor snapped. Continue. But minutes later, more ships vanished. Then more. Perfect precision, perfect timing, like invisible blades cutting pieces off the armada. No enemy signatures. No visible attack. Just losses. Veiltor felt something he had not felt in 2 centuries. Unease. Meanwhile, Admiral Holt stood in Eidolon 9, watching from a war table hologram as autonomous Ghost Fleet units executed their silent ambushes. He whispered to himself, let them think they still lead. For the Ghost Fleet had not revealed itself. It struck without identity, without signal, without presence, like war itself had learned to stalk. Earth did not scream in terror. Earth waited. The Zytherian armada reached Saturn's orbit with fewer ships than it started with. Entire scout wings were missing, erased with surgical precision. No plasma scars. No debris fields. No enemy silhouettes. Simply gone, as though the void itself had swallowed them. High Marshal Veiltor stormed through the command deck, jaw clenched, throat plates flaring with agitation. Officers avoided his gaze. The usual arrogant calm of the Zytherian elite had evaporated. Explain, Veiltor growled. We cannot, Marshal, replied his tactical chief. It is as if space itself attacked us. Veiltor slammed a clawed hand against the console, cracking metal. Space does not ambush fleets. Someone is hunting us. The word hung in the air, hunting. Zytherians were predators, never prey. But facts were becoming undeniable. Human POV, calm before the storm, Admiral Holt. Deep in Eidolon 9, Admiral Holt addressed a silent chamber of Earth's Defense Council. Generals, presidents, and prime ministers watched a projection of the enemy fleet's advance, now cautious, slowed, paranoid. They're second-guessing themselves, Holt said. Good. Doubt is our first victory. A council member asked, Admiral, why haven't we revealed the Ghost Fleet officially? Holt lifted his eyes. Because we want them afraid of shadows before they fear our steel. That single line defined humanity's strategy. Break their confidence before breaking their fleets. Even Earth's own leaders felt unsettled by the Ghost Fleet, thousands of AI warships, each running independent combat logic, no human crew, no hesitation, no mercy. Holt secretly feared what humanity had built, but he feared the alternative, extinction, more. He dismissed the council and turned to his aide. Activate Protocol Glass Veil. Deploy Ghost Fleet Phase 2. Let the Zytherians feel watched. The aide nodded and began the sequence. Somewhere in the darkness of deep space, unregistered ships stirred, like wolves lifting their heads to the scent of prey. Alien POV, emotional fallout. Zytherian officers gathered in Veiltor's strategy chamber, admirals, nobles, and parliament liaisons. Fear made them argumentative. This is sorcery. Primitive worlds do not wield such power. We must retreat and reassess. Retreat? From an underdeveloped mud world? Unthinkable. Their voices rose, desperate and shrill. Veil Tor cut through them. Enough. Humans are hiding something, yes. But we do not run from cattle. We break them. But even he felt the tremor of uncertainty beneath his words. To understand the enemy, Veil Tor demanded human war records from intelligence archives. What he saw chilled him. World War trenches filled with bodies under mustard skies. Nuclear sunbursts flattening cities. Human fleets tearing each other apart in their own civil wars. One video in particular played, a soldier screaming through debris, carrying a wounded comrade under artillery fire. Humans did not fear pain. They marched into it. They are monsters, whispered an aide. Veil Tor closed the footage. No, he said quietly. They are survivors. For the first time, Zytherians saw humanity not as primitive, but as unpredictable and relentless. Human POV, the moral weight, Holt's reflection. Alone in his quarters, Holt reviewed lost projections. Even with the Ghost Fleet, billions could die if the war escalated to planetary strikes. The weight was crushing. He stared at an old photo, his daughter, lost in a conflict years ago. That grief shaped him. It was the scar beneath every command, every order. I won't let Earth bury another generation, he whispered. His aide interrupted. Sir, Ghost Fleet Phase 2 is in position. Holt gave the softest nod. Begin the phantom strikes. Power shift becomes psychological war, ghosts in the dark. Over the next 48 hours, the Zytherian fleet suffered non-stop harassment. Supply barges vanished. Power relays went dark for minutes at a time. Navigation readings scrambled. Entire frigates found drifting with no memory logs. No enemy ships seen. No shots detected. Pure fear. Officers stopped boasting. Silence replaced laughter. Sleep was rare. Even veteran commanders whisper of curses, hidden gods, or ancient traps. Humans didn't just attack their fleet. They attacked their confidence, identity, and sanity. Alien internal conflict, collapse of unity. An emergency council session was called aboard Veil Tor's flagship. The Empire demanded answers. Politicians blamed admirals. Admirals blamed intelligence. Intelligence blamed unknown physics. Some demanded retreat. Others demanded extermination-level bombardment. The room erupted in shouting. Veil Tor raised his voice. We finish this. We will strike at the human homeworld directly. One decisive blow. Their illusions will crumble. A junior general, shaking, replied. Marshal, what if the illusions are not illusions? The room froze. Veil Tor dismissed the council, but the seed of doubt had sprouted everywhere. Loyalty remained, but faith was dying. Human strategy tightens, the coming kill box. Meanwhile, Holt coordinated the final stage of his trap. The Ghost Fleet had not yet revealed its true scale. What the Zytherians faced so far was only the perimeter, not the core. Humanity's plan was brutal in its elegance. 1. Lure the main Zytherian fleet close to Earth. 2. Seal off their retreat vectors. 3. Unleash the Ghost Fleet in full formation. 4. End the war in one overwhelming strike. Holt whispered to his staff. History is watching. We will win, but we will not become what we fight. He gave the order. Prepare Phase 3. Let them reach us. In the missing hours before the war erupted, humanity executed a series of unseen maneuvers that the Zytherians never anticipated. Small fleets vanished without a trace, supply lines were severed, and key forward bases disappeared from orbital scans. Veil Tor's officers whispered of sorcery and impossible technology. Political debate in the Zytherian High Council fractured their unity. Some demanded retreat, others insisted on total annihilation. Humanity revealed itself not as prey, but as predator in disguise, calm, precise, patient. These unseen strikes left the alien armada rattled but unaware of the full scale of the trap. Admiral Holt, poised in Eidolon 9, awaited the moment when the Empire would commit itself fully and the Ghost Fleet would reveal its true, devastating power. Opening, the strike begins. From deep orbit around Jupiter, humanity launched the first wave. Hundreds of autonomous Ghost Fleet vessels slipped through the asteroid belts like silent hunters, no engines visible, no signatures detectable, only the occasional shimmer as they phased through defensive shields. On the bridge of the Dominion's Claw, Veil Tor's scanners blared. What? Marshal, our forward battle groups are gone, an officer stammered. Veil Tor clenched his claws, scales rippling under stress. Impossible. Sensors must be faulty. They were not. Within minutes, whole squadrons, frigates, destroyers, cruisers, had vanished from the Zytherian formation, torn from existence by attacks so precise it was as though the humans anticipated every move before it happened. No explosions, no debris, only emptiness. Alien panic, Veiltor POV. Veiltor's pride collapsed in silence. He had dominated star systems for centuries. He had watched planets plead for mercy, entire species crumble at his approach. Yet here was humanity, mocking him with their restraint. Marshal, this is strategy or madness, hissed an aide. No, this is calculation, and they are better at it than we imagined. The bridge was a storm of disbelief. Zytherian admirals shouted, then quieted, realizing that panic spread faster than any command. Veiltor realized the Empire's communications were already compromised. Every attempt to coordinate failed. Ships were being cut down methodically, nothing chaotic, nothing random. Humanity was surgical, efficient, merciless. Human POV, whole commands with cold precision. Admiral Holt's voice over the comms was calm, detached, almost monotone. Unit Sigma 3, intercept Admiral Tlek's squadron at Grid 47B. Confirm neutralization. No civilians engaged. In minutes, the designated Zytherian fleet ceased to exist. The human fleets maneuvered through wormhole corridors and gravitational currents with silent coordination, appearing, striking, disappearing, like ghosts. Holt did not rejoice. He watched his screens with the detachment of a surgeon operating on a patient. Each target destroyed was necessary. Each strike minimized collateral damage to planets not under immediate threat. The precision was almost horrifying. Phase Delta is ready, his aide said. Engage, Holt replied. Let them see how fragile arrogance is. The Ghost Fleet moves, cinematic assault. The battle unfolded across Jupiter's orbit and the asteroid belts. Vessels phase shifted through defensive turrets, leaving shields unbroken until ships were vaporized. Carrier-class warships disappeared in bursts of shimmering light, their power cores imploding in silence. Missile salvos and plasma barrages evaporated before reaching targets, intercepted by autonomous countermeasures launched from unseen human frigates. Veiltor could do nothing. Every counterattack was anticipated, every ambush neutralized before it began. Even when he ordered orbital bombardments against Earth, the humans redirected attacks with microsecond timing, preserving their cities while decimating his forces. Psychological collapse of Zytherian command. Veiltor staggered along the bridge, uncharacteristic tremors running through his limbs. We cannot. We are outmaneuvered, outthought, out everything. His officers stared in horror. Never before had the Empire felt vulnerability, a crack in their ancient, invincible order. A forward scout ship's feed appeared on the main screens. The bridge went silent. Every single crew member aboard the scout, gone. Vaporized without fire. No logs, no signals. Veiltor's jaw tightened. For the first time in his existence, the concept of fear entered his mind. They had misjudged a younger, smaller species, and the consequences were total. Holt's calculated efficiency. Admiral Holt activated the final phase, Ghost Fleet main strike. Thousands of AI vessels converged on the Zytherian command nexus. Fleets attempting to retreat were trapped by gravitational manipulation arrays and stealth ambushes. Orbital platforms were neutralized silently, one by one, until the Empire's military backbone was shattered. Holt's only instruction to his officers: maintain discipline, avoid unnecessary destruction, end the war efficiently. The galaxy is watching, Holt murmured. Let them remember the cost of arrogance. Alien desperation. Veiltor's voice broke over the comms. Cease all operations. Withdraw. Return. Do you hear me? No response came. Communications were jammed. The humans were everywhere, yet nowhere. Command structures dissolved under relentless, surgical strikes. Zytherian ships, built for centuries of domination, now drifted powerless in cold space, stripped of engines, weapon systems, and hope. The Empire's officers began arguing, pointing fingers, accusing spies, accusing physics, accusing fate. Veiltor realized the Empire itself had become a battlefield, not a war between humans and Zytherians, a war inside the Empire's soul. Cinematic climax, total military erasure. Across the solar system, Zytherian cruisers evaporated near Saturn's rings. Destroyers vanished near Jupiter's magnetic flux belts. Command fortresses over Neptune were dismantled with silent precision. The remaining fleet attempted a final, desperate formation, only to be intercepted and neutralized. The humans never celebrated. They moved with the cold inevitability of nature itself. No cheers, no war cries, no satisfaction, only completion. Vale Tor's POV. He watched the remnants of his once invincible armada annihilated, unable to comprehend the scale or efficiency of his enemy's strike. This was not battle, this was execution. Holt's POV. He surveyed the results like a chess master removing the last pieces from the board. The Zytherians had no options left. Every move had been anticipated, every weakness exploited. The Ghost Fleet had erased the military might of an empire without a single human casualty on Earth. Silence stretched across the outer solar system. Once mighty Zytherian warships drifted like broken monuments, their engines dead, their weapons inert, hulls scarred but intact only in memory. Planetary fortresses that had terrified entire civilizations were hollowed out, empty shells. Humanity's Ghost Fleet hovered quietly in formation, like predators who had paused after the hunt, surveying what remained. On Earth, Admiral Holt did not celebrate. There were no banners, no speeches, no fireworks. Only monitors showing distant Zytherian fleets, shattered, leaderless, and still intact only in fragments of metal and data. "They're not gone," Holt murmured. "Just broken." His aides watched him, unsure if the calmness was fatigue, sorrow, or something else. Holt's face reflected the weight of the war and of humanity's survival. The victory was total. The Empire's military had been annihilated. Yet the cost was not counted in ships or soldiers, it was the responsibility of holding the galaxy. Humanity had proven itself, but in doing so, it had become a force the universe had never known before. Alien POV. Vale Tor captured but alive. Vale Tor's flagship, the last of his command vessels, floated powerless near Saturn. He sat in the bridge, stripped of authority, surrounded by his few surviving officers. His pride had been dismantled, his confidence shattered, and the carefully constructed world of the Zytherian Empire had crumbled beneath his claws. He stared at the transmission of Admiral Holt's fleet hovering silently in orbit. "You spared us," Vale Tor hissed. "Your species fought," Holt replied. "Calm, precise, detached. You no longer have a military. You are alive. That is the mercy we offer." Vale Tor realized that he was powerless to retaliate. His mind raced, not in defiance, but in fear and comprehension. Humans had not sought revenge. They had ended the war efficiently, decisively, and without theatrics. The Zytherian Marshal considered his legacy, the thousands of conquered worlds, the centuries of fear, and now, a species he had thought primitive had surpassed him entirely. Galactic political fallout. Across the Zytherian Empire, news traveled slowly at first, then like wildfire. Fleets had been destroyed, command nodes disabled, leaders captured or neutralized. Political factions argued in panic. The humans, they cannot be reasoned with. We should retreat to the outer systems and rebuild. Our fleets are gone. Our forts are gone. We are nothing. Vale Tor alone understood the full truth. Humanity did not hate them. Humanity did not revel in the conquest. Humanity did not seek to dominate unnecessarily. They had only ensured survival with ruthless efficiency. In this silence, the Empire faced a psychological collapse far worse than the physical one. Leaders no longer argued about tactics, they argued about existence itself. How does an empire, bred for millennia on fear and domination, reconcile with the realization that a lesser species had made them obsolete? The humans offer surrender terms. Admiral Holt convened a communication session. He allowed Vale Tor and his surviving council to speak. "Marshal Vale Tor," Holt said, "the war is over. Your fleet is destroyed. Your empire no longer has the capacity to resist. Humanity does not seek revenge. We offer governance, not annihilation. We offer terms, not tyranny." Vale Tor studied Holt carefully. There was no pride in the human eyes, no malice. Only the cold, undeniable authority of victory. "And what terms?" Vale Tor asked, voice low. "You will serve," Holt replied, "as diplomats, as governors, as intermediaries in the new galactic order. You are alive. Your people may live. Your species may endure. That is your mercy." The Zytherian Marshal considered the offer. Pride and instinct screamed to refuse. But even those instincts were tempered by the cold reality. Resistance meant extinction. "I accept," Veiltor whispered, almost mechanically. Holt reflects on humanity's role. As the transmissions ended, Holt walked alone along the observation deck of Idola 9. He gazed outward at the shattered remnants of the Zytherian fleet. Humanity had survived. Humanity had prevailed. And yet, we didn't want this, he murmured. We didn't want war. But now the galaxy knows what we are. He paused. He thought of Earth, of its past conflicts, of the cost of preparation, of the weight of command. We are no longer just a species, Holt continued. We are a force, and the universe will watch us carefully. Alien POV. Veiltor observes humanity. Veiltor remained aboard his disabled flagship, transported under human control to orbit around Mars for processing. He watched as Earth's fleet repositioned with meticulous precision. Humans moved like a single organism, calm, cold, effective. For the first time in millennia, he felt humility and fear in equal measure. Not only had humans destroyed his military, they had rewritten the rules of engagement in the galaxy. They had shown him what survival really meant. They are not savages, Veiltor whispered. They are perfection in motion. Yet even as he spoke, he realized one undeniable truth: the humans were awake now. Their unity, their patience, their precision, all cultivated for centuries, would shape the galaxy for generations. And the Zytherians would have no choice but to comply. The moral twist/final reflection. Holt convened a final report with his top admirals and strategists. All across the solar system, humanity's fleets held positions of quiet dominance. Not celebration, not conquest, just control. The universe is watching, Holt said softly. We didn't wage this war for glory. We didn't wage it for revenge. We did it to survive, and to ensure it never happens again. Across the galaxy, civilizations would take note. Some would seek alliance. Some would cower. Some would attempt rebellion, unaware of the discipline and efficiency that now defined humanity. Holt turned away from the command screens. Outside, Earth rotated peacefully beneath him. The sun glinted off the oceans, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself a moment of quiet. The war is over, but humanity has awakened, and nothing will ever be the same. The camera of imagination pans outward. Shattered Zytherian fleets drift among the stars. The solar system is calm. The galaxy, however, is forever changed. Closing lines. Veiltor sat in silence, stripped of command but alive. He realized fully. Humanity did not seek glory, only survival. Humanity could destroy entire fleets and leave the weak untouched. Humanity had learned from pain, perfected patience, and struck when the time was right. We misjudged them, he murmured. We misjudged everything. Holt watched Earth from orbit. His final thought: we didn't want war, but now we are awake. And the galaxy will remember who we are.